What's going on, guys? Welcome back to We Want Picks. My name is Jacob, aka the Freckle Salamander, here to bring you my quick pick video for UFC Kansas City. But before we get into this video, I want to do something good for somebody. We have a member of the community that is going through some things. She reached out in Discord, asked for everyone's thoughts, prayers, whatever you guys want to give her. I want to make this video dedicated to her and what she is going through with her family. If you guys could put in the comments and just spam the comments. I want the comment section loaded. So if she finds this video, or I can send her this video, that every single comment. Her name is Elizabeth. She's been a member of this community forever. She's going through a tough time. If you guys could just put in the comments, you're thinking about her, prayers for her, whatever you want to say to her. She is a vital member of this community and a real awesome, super awesome person. And it's just awful what she is going through. So I want to make this video and do some good for her. So if you guys don't mind, if you want to trash me in the comments as well for last week's picks, that's fine as well. But before you do anything, if you guys could please go in the comments, let her know that we are thinking about her, that you guys are thinking about her and her family and everything. And Elizabeth, me, Angelo, and the entire We Want Picks family is thinking about you, sending positive thoughts, vibes, everything your way. So if everyone could just comment that, we would appreciate that 100%. And let's get into this week's quick pick video for UFC Kansas City. Before we get started, if you want to become a premium member, support the community, get all the tools you need to be successful, it is only $10 a month. Go to WeWantPicks.com, become a premium member today. With that said, let's get right into the quick pick video for UFC Kansas City. First fight of the night, we have Joselyne versus Lucie. And let's be honest, guys, this fight is probably going to be an absolute snooze fest. I won't waste a ton of time on it. It's going to be back and forth, some kickboxing, some cage control, probably on the Lucie side. But I'm going with Joselyne here. I mean, this is just it's a 50-50 pick. I like the experience, the toughness, the strength, and the power of Joselyne. Lucie was a former boxer who has kind of turned into a wrestler, but even in her striking, she's a little bit slow, doesn't have a lot of power. Her takedowns aren't great. Her control isn't great. I don't think she can get this fight to the ground. She's going to struggle trying to do that. Joselyne should be able to take over second, third rounds, but this is such a close fight, a toss-up fight. There's so many more opportunities on this card for bets, for plays. It's going to be a tough one to get through for the first fight of the night. If you guys want to show up late to the card to watch, this is probably one to skip. I imagine it's going to be boring, just a snooze fest of a fight for 15 minutes, but my pick is going to be Joselyne. Confidence level is who cares. Let's move on to the next one. Gaston versus Phillips, and this actually is a very interesting fight because Gaston had a big layoff, was in Bellator, came back, looked good in his last fight. He is a Muay Thai specialist, and you're going to hear every single person talk about his spinning back elbow. It is insane the amount of times this guy throws it and lands it. I mean, he lands it time and time again. You'll see all his Muay Thai highlights. Boom. I mean, it's just like John Jones. He throws something, he throws the right, he throws the cross, then he comes through, spins, bam, lands it, and knocks people out. The issue with Gaston is he's a pretty confident fighter. He's a pretty cocky fighter, but in there it looks like he can get a little lackadaisical. A few years ago, he avenged his last loss, but his lost 2 times ago in his last fight. I don't even know if that made any sense at all. But he got subbed. And the way he got subbed was he kind of just leaned into this weird guillotine, and there was like no sense of urgency. And I've seen that at times in his fights. He just assumes he's going to knock everyone out, and when that doesn't happen, things kind of go south for him. So in this fight against a guy like Phillips, who is going to be the biggest question mark on this entire card, 3-year layoff, looked decent before the layoff. I tried to do the deep dive on the Instagram. It looks like he's really kind of focused on his gym, his family, coaching. They always say sometimes when you're coaching, you have a different perspective on fights. We'll see how hard he's been training. Gaston did fight last year, so I got to go with Gaston because he's a little bit more active. He did find that knockout in his last fight, but there's so many question marks. I'm going Gaston, but I doubt I put any money on it because you just don't know how Phillips is going to show up in this fight. Let's move on to the next one. Bruna Brasil versus my girl Denise, and I'm telling you right now, I understand that Bruna's good. She's good, she's long, she's rangy, she's confident. I mean, it's hands low. It's almost like she's the female, I would say she's like the female Anderson Silva. That's a little aggressive, but I'm just saying the way that she fights in the octagon is a little bit Anderson Silva's-esque with the hands low. She's got some decent throws and some reversals on the takedown attempts, but I don't see the dog in her. I don't see the dog in her. And against a girl in the Contender Series that was very, very undersized, she was still kind of pushed around at times, which is really, really concerning to see, especially against a girl like Denise or Denis or Gomes, whatever. I don't know how to pronounce her name, but we'll just say Gomes, who in her UFC debut fought a very, very good striker in Luma Lubumi and really kind of put it to her. She ended up losing that fight, but she was a dog in that fight. Early exchanges were getting taken down, reverse positions, took Luma down, was bloody, beaten in the third round, was still fighting, and I love that dog mentality in this fight, because if this is a clean fight, Bruna can absolutely dominate this fight, but I think that Denise comes in, makes it dirty, gets some takedowns, gets Bruna flat on her back, and really kind of dominates this fight. She's a very skilled fighter everywhere, and I just think she's got that aggression, that dog. She's bigger, and she can get inside and hold Bruna against the cage, take her down. I'm all in on Denise in this matchup as the underdog. I understand that Bruna's probably the better fighter. I just don't see that dog in her. She was pushed around a little bit by a tiny, tiny girl in her Contender Series fight. Denise is no joke in there. She's going to get her face, make this a brawl, make this ugly. Give me Denise confidence level. I put about 6 on it. Let's move on to the next one. No, Vannata versus Daniel. And I'll be honest, I mean, Daniel is the better fighter. I don't think anyone can look at this matchup and say that Lando is a better fighter than Daniel. The issue is, Daniel really kind of messed up his last fight against Trey Ogden. He was a much better fighter than Trey Ogden. He just never really got going. And even though he was behind, and he had to have known that he was behind in that matchup, in the scorecards, there was no sense of urgency. I mean, it wasn't like a switch flipped in him to where he just started getting aggressive and started letting his hands go. And that's really concerning, especially against a guy like Lando, who is probably going to get ahead early because he's going to have the movement in and out. He's very fluid. He's very well-rounded everywhere. Daniel's the better striker. He's the much better striker in this matchup, but he's a little bit young, lacking experience, and I just don't know if he can flip that switch to be aggressive. He should just let his hands go because he's going to be the better striker in this matchup. Lando does get hit at times, and Daniel should be able to snipe him. So for this matchup, I'm going to go with Daniel because I always give fighters kind of a second chance, and it always burns me, right? I did it with Lucie. I mean, I've done it before, time and time again. I've given fighters second chances. So I'm going to assume that Daniel's going to come in and be a little bit more aggressive because he kind of laid an egg in his last fight against a non-striker in Trey Ogden. But I'm scared. I'm not going to put any money on him, even though I think it's pretty good value. He's a much better striker in my mind than Lando. But Lando is just so fluid. I think his nickname's Groovy. He's in and out. If Daniel can't find him, he's going to get behind again, and he's going to have to chase a finish, and I just don't know if he's going to do that. So my pick is Daniel, but confidence level on this is like a 2 or a 3. He's got to prove it to me before I start laying money on him. Let's move on to the next one. Piera Rodriguez versus Gillian Robertson. And this is Gillian. I had no idea that she's 27 years old. When I'm thinking of Gillian, we've seen her fight so many times. I literally, if you would have asked me how old Gillian is, I would have said 36, 37 years old. She's only 27 years old, which is insane for the amount of experience as she has. And in this fight, I think that's going to be the difference. Listen, Piera Rodriguez is a very good fighter. Can do everything, aggressive, can grapple, can wrestle, can do it all. But I just like Gillian's ability to win sweeps. The people that beat Gillian are very, very good controlling wrestlers, where Gillian can't get those sweeps. She's on her back and she gets controlled on the ground, or people that have very good takedown defense where Gillian can't really get her ground game going. I think she can take down Piera Rodriguez. I think Piera will engage in the grappling, and I think Gillian's skilled enough to win some scrambles, win some sweeps, get on her back. And I don't know if she's going to find it a submission, but I think she's going to be able to do enough and have enough control to win this fight. I think this is a decent matchup for her against somebody that will engage in the grappling, can get taken down. You saw her getting taken down in K. Hansen. You saw it time and time again. So I like Gillian in this matchup. Obviously, when you're picking somebody and relying on the jiu-jitsu, you know how much I hate that stuff. But I think that her sweeps are good enough, and she's got really, really good control once she gets on girls' back. So I'm going to get Gillian in this matchup. Confidence level is probably only about a 3 or 4 heading in this matchup, but that's the pick. Let's move on. Ed Herman and Zak Cummings. And listen, Ed Herman is an OG, and he is one of those old school fighters, man. He is an old school brawler, and he is old school, and he is old. And in his last fight, he looked old. He looked slow. He's tough. I mean, he is tough as nails, one of those old school dudes, but he looks slow. I mean, there's no speed. There was nothing in that fight where I could take away and be like, okay, if he's able to do that against Zak, I think that he might be up there. I mean, there was like nothing that he showed in that fight except for his toughness. And maybe maybe he's able to use his toughness to kind of squeak out a weird win or, kind of out tough Zak Cummings, who's coming off a big layoff. I'm not saying Zak's going to come in and absolutely dominate this matchup because he is coming off a long layoff. It's probably going to have a time to get some timing. And against a tough guy like Herman, anything can happen. But this should be Zak Cummings' fight to lose. Herman, God bless if you want to play at 42, 43 years old, looks every bit of 42, 43. He's tough. I'll be rooting for him. I mean, it'll be fun to see, but I got to go Zak Cummings here. There's not much to the breakdown except for Ed is old, he's slow, and Zak should win the fight. Let's move on. Brandon Royval versus Matheus Nicolau, and I cannot believe, I assume they're going to change this. Why is this on the prelims? Why is Clay Guida versus Rafa on the main card and this is on the prelims? This is a big fight for the division, and it could be the fight of the night because finally there is somebody that is going to fight Matheus Nicolau and actually bring the fight to him. You see people scared to fight Matheus because he's such a slick, fast counter striker. He's a very, very good grappler, very good wrestler. He's got all the tools. I think he can be a champion. There is no doubt in my mind this guy can be a champion. And finally, there's going to be somebody that brings the fight to him because, as you know, Brandon Raw Dog Royval brings the fight to every single person. I think he's in trouble because of it, but it's going to make it a lot of fun for people watching the fight. He's going to come through. He's probably going to get countered. He's probably going to get dropped because that's what happens. And maybe he's able to win a scramble because we've seen Royval do that time and time again. People drop him, they get on top of him, he starts sweeping them, he gets their back, he finds weird submissions. But Nicolau is so good on the ground and in the speed with his hands, with power, with his counter shots. I see Royval getting way too aggressive, which will be fun for us, getting dropped, and if he's not put away, I think Matheus can neutralize him on the ground, maybe find a submission on his own, because Brandon Royval will take chances everywhere, on the feet, on the ground. It'll be a fun fight. I hope that this is moved to the main card. It absolutely deserves to be on the main card. I'm a big fan of Matheus Nicolau, so I'm a little bit biased in this. I'm also a big fan of Brandon Royval as well. It's going to be a tough matchup for him. He gets dropped. He can't get submitted. Give me Matheus Nicolau in this matchup. I'm actually pretty confident, probably about a 7 on the scale here, but Brandon Royval is always going to be live. He's always got those wild, weird scrambles, so we'll see what happens, but give me Matheus Nicolau in this matchup. Downtown TJ Brown versus Bill Algeo, and this one's going to be interesting. And let me say, I am very, very biased for downtown TJ Brown. That dude's my man. I mean, we're talking about Arkansas wrestling. We're talking about, if you guys don't know about Arkansas, I've been on Arkansas wrestling for like a year and a half, 2 years now. Bryce Mitchell, TJ Brown. Obviously, Bryce Mitchell kind of shit the bed, but TJ Brown's been doing pretty well, beating people that people think that he shouldn't really beat. And I think he's going to beat Bill Algeo. Listen, Bill Algeo is tough. He's well-rounded, but he doesn't really excel anywhere except for toughness. And yes, I think he can weather the storm and maybe reverse some positions and stuff some takedowns and really kind of beat up TJ Brown. He's a super durable guy, and TJ Brown does fade as fights go on. But I got to stick with my guy here. I'm loyal to Arkansas wrestling, so this is a biased pick. You shouldn't listen to me, but I think TJ Brown can come in and out-wrestle this guy. He's got power in his hands as well. Bill Algeo, as tough as he is, he does get hit. TJ Brown can fake those shots, overhand rights, get the takedowns, win the scrambles. I love TJ Brown. I like him in this matchup. It is a biased pick, but give me Arkansas wrestling. Downtown TJ Brown in this matchup. Don't listen to me. I'm biased. Let's move on. Clay Guida versus Rafa Garcia, and this one's pretty cut and dry as well. I have all the respect in the world for Clay Guida. He's a former lock of the week. I think the very first lock of the week over 2 years ago that won. He wasn't my very first one, but I'm pretty sure the first one that ever won was Clay Guida. So he has always got a special place in my heart, but this is going to be a tough matchup for him because Rafa is the real deal. He's a very good wrestler. He's a very good grappler, and Clay's going to make him work. This isn't going to be I don't want to say this is going to be a walk in the park for Rafa. He's going to have to work. Hopefully he does not get tired, but he should have all the tools to kind of neutralize the craziness that is Clay Guida. Clay Guida is great. Clay Guida is great. when he's out in space, he's able to bop around, the hair is moving, boom, in and out, he's getting crazy. But when you can neutralize that and you can get on him and hold him down, then the whole craziness of Clay Guida turns into kind of just another fighter, as kind of disrespectful as that sounds. But when he's on his back, yes, he will keep working to get back to his feet, and he's decent with submissions, but that's how you can beat Clay Guida, right? Either with big power shots while he's doing the stuff if you're a good striker, or neutralize him with the wrestling, and that's exactly what Rafa is going to do in this matchup, I would assume. Get the takedowns, hold him down, control him, and we'll see if Rafa gets a little bit too tired and Clay can do some things late second and the third round. But I like Rafa in this matchup to use his wrestling, neutralize the craziness of Clay Guida. It's crazy that he is still fighting at this level, still winning at this level. If he wins, I'm sure the crowd will go absolutely insane. I'll be pulling for him. How can you not root for a guy like Clay Guida? But I got to go Rafa in this matchup. Confidence level is probably about a 7 out of 10. Let's move on. Jan Cutelaba versus the 205 debut of Tanner Boser. And listen, Jan Cutelaba is very, very talented. He has burned me so many. There are so many times that I have bet on Jan Cutelaba that it blows my mind. So there is no way in hell I'm picking or putting money on this guy anymore. Now listen, he's finally started to come to the realization that he doesn't have a chin, right? He still kind of throws wild in there, but he's turned into the wrestler that he should have been probably all along. I mean, he has had some success with that. I believe that he will take down Tanner Boser. I think early in the fight, he's going to take him down. The issue is, even when he's getting takedowns, even when he's controlling the fights, even when the fight is going exactly the way that it should go for him, he still gets tired, man. I mean, the guy's got no chin and still gets tired. So I see this like the most Jan Cutelaba fight ever. Early success, gets a takedown. Tanner looks great. If you haven't seen him, the cut down to 205, he looks fantastic. He did it the right way. I think Tanner gets taken down, but is able to scramble back to his feet and then just start laying on volume. If not, even kind of out-wrestling Cutelaba if he gets tired. Maybe take his back, submit him. I'm actually looking at maybe like a Tanner Boser weird submission bet. It's like plus 3,300, like for the round, like plus 3,000, plus 3,400, plus 4,000. I think that might be the easiest path to victory for a guy like Tanner Boser. Kind of scramble, sweep, get his back, and Cutelaba, as good as he is, once he gets tired, I mean, that guy just, I don't want to say he quits, but I would say his body quits on him. So I can't believe they had Cutelaba as a favorite. I understand Tanner Boser can get taken down, but he doesn't quit. He's a dog in there. He's going to keep fighting, and Cutelaba, his cardio fails him pretty much every time if his fight IQ doesn't beforehand, or his chin for that matter. So give me Tanner Boser in this matchup. I actually like him in this match. He's going to have to weather the storm. Anytime you fight Cutelaba, you got to weather that storm the first 2 minutes. But after that, Boser, I think he can take over this fight. So confidence level, give me about a 5 on it, because he is coming down 205. He looks great, but you never know how that weight cut's going to go. And Cutelaba does have some very, very good wrestling. It's just whether he can maintain that or find a finish early. So give me Tanner Boser in this matchup. Let's move on. Dustin Jacoby versus Azamat. I'm a big Dustin Jacoby guy. He won that fight against Khalil, but I watched that back. I just watched that back. That was closer than I remember. I felt like that was a robbery. I still think he got robbed in that matchup, but it definitely was closer than I imagined, and it kind of worries me for this fight, because he fought Khalil Roundtree almost like Sean Strickland. It was a lot of volume, but he never really landed those shots that kind of makes the crowd ooh and ah. Where Khalil was landing those shots and showing the damage on Dustin Jacoby while he was landing those shots. So yeah, Dustin was controlling. I mean, he controlled the entire fight. I mean, he was throwing triple jabs out there, pop, 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 right hand, boom, head move, boom, boom, and just laying on volume. But this is the same type of guy, Azamat, who will eat volume to throw power. So it's a little bit concerning in this matchup if Jacoby comes in with that volume style, worried about the power, just kind of touch. Azamat is landing one power shot to every one of Dustin Jacoby's, but we've seen Dustin can get hit, and if he starts wearing damage, this could be another one of those weird situations, especially if Azamat's able to get the takedowns. I don't think he's going to be able to. He's not really all in on the wrestling. He can get him when people get tired. Dustin has very, very good takedown defense. He's a very experienced fighter. fighter. He knows what Azamat wants to do in there. This is a big moment for Dustin Jacoby. They gave him another name because I think they knew, like, hey, he probably won that Khalil fight, so we're not going to knock him down. Let's give him an undefeated fighter. Let's put him on the main card, and let's see if he can really do it and put this guy away. I think Dustin Jacoby needs to lay on some power, sit on a few shots, and kind of make a statement here if he wants to be a guy at 205. So I'm going Dustin Jacoby, but I'm a little bit worried. If he comes in just going to be all volume, we know how judges go. I mean, these are going to be Kansas City judges. Who the hell knows what the hell these Kansas City judges are going to see and like in a fight? So I'm going Dustin Jacoby. He should control this entire fight, but we'll see if this goes to the judges. Weirder things have happened. Give me Dustin Jacoby. Confidence level, about a 6. Edson Barboza versus Billy Q. And Billy Q is a tough dude. He is kind of like Bill Algeo. He wins fights. He's a very well-rounded fighter, but he wins fights when he can kind of wear people down and really kind of lay on the volume, laying on the pressure, second, third round, find finishes late, but really kind of control fights as they go on. I don't know if he can do that against Edson. I just don't know. Edson is also a super tough guy. I think Edson comes in, definitely wins the first round. He's lightning fast, pace, pressure. Those kicks are going to be crazy. And if Billy Q is going to rely on Edson Barboza kind of slowing down to win this fight, I think he's going to get way too far behind. He's going to lose the first 2 rounds, and he might sneak out that third round, but I don't see a finish on either side because both these guys are tough as shit. I just think Edson is going to carry that speed in the second and the third rounds, and you saw how much issues, you saw how much of an issue the speed of Alexander Hernandez was to Billy Q early in that fight. I mean, he was all over Billy Q and really kind of controlled that first round with this pace, with this pressure. And yeah, he did end up getting tired, right? But I just don't see Edson. I think Edson can bring that same pace, pressure, speed in the first, but also carry it long enough into the second to win that round and then not get finished in the third round. And then all of a sudden, Edson Barboza just won that fight. So yes, I respect the well-rounded fighting of Billy Q. If he drops that first round, I think he's in big, big trouble because Edson could easily carry that same momentum into the second round. Billy Q's got to be on his P's and Q's, no pun intended there, and really try to win that first round so it's not as close and not as important for him to lay on pressure in the second. But, give me Edson Barboza in this fight. I just think he can carry that pace all 3 rounds, and that's going to be tough for Billy Q to overcome. He can't out-tough Edson. So what's he going to do? Give me Edson Barboza. Confidence level is probably only about a 4 or 5 because I do respect Billy Q. But I'm going to take Edson in this matchup. Main event time, Max Holloway versus my guy, Arnold Down. And I'm saying that because I am biased for Arnold. I absolutely love Arnold Allen. The issue is, I think this is a bad matchup for him, man. I really think that this is a bad matchup for him. Arnold Allen needs to fight people that he has a power advantage on, but also people that he can hurt. He needs to do damage early because he starts fading late, and he needs to put people away in the first, second, third rounds of a 5-round fight. Otherwise, you'll see that he will start fading in this fight. He is a huge dude for 145 every time he's on the scales. I know that Max as well, but Max has been there, done that. You've seen him carry. I mean, you've seen him cut weight, look like a zombie, and then be absolutely fine for 5 rounds. Arnold Allen will cut weight, look like shit, and be fine for the first couple rounds. But even in the third round of 3-round fights, you can see he starts to decline. In the 4th, 5th rounds, I don't know if he's going to have it. Here's how I would fight. If I'm Max Holloway, I bring my pressure, right? I get in his face, I bring pressure, but I'm very defensively sound in the first round. High guard, moving my head, but I'm pushing Arnold backwards, and the only thing I'm really doing is touching that front leg. Touching that front leg, because Arnold is all about movement, right? He's not one of those guys that's bobbing and weaving with head movement. He's parrying the jab. He's a southpaw, so he's parrying the jab, and everything is with footwork. It's in, out, it's side, side. He's parrying the jab. If you start working those legs and you start moving him backwards, he's eventually going to wear down. The movement won't be as precise, and as the fight goes on, when you're just a guy that parries that jab without head movement, and you're tired, and all of a sudden you're getting flat-footed, you're no longer parrying that jab. Your hand's a little bit lower. You're eating that jab. Ooh, ah, ooh, oh, it hurts, and you can really, really wear down a fighter. I think that's exactly what Max Holloway does in this fight. I think if I was Max Holloway, I don't know if he's going to do that, because the issue with Max Holloway is he does get caught up in these boxing fights, and he kind of forgets that this is a complete mixed martial arts fight. He's got great kicks. He's got great kicks. He can beat up and chew up the front leg of Arnold Allen, but sometimes he does get baited into those brawls. He does fine with them because he's got a concrete head and he's a very, very good boxer. But I want Max Holloway, if I'm Max Holloway, control the pace, push him back, all defense. Once it gets to the second round, then start laying on some volume late second round, because I don't want you losing the first 2 rounds, right? Because we've seen Max get behind and then start winning rounds. 2:30 mark of the second round, I want Max to start laying on volume, steal that second round, and then by the third round comes that in and out movement of Arnold Allen is going to get a little bit more flat-footed. You're going to be able to walk him down, lay on volume, and maybe find a finish 4th, 5th round when Arnold Allen isn't completely done. Now, on the Arnold Allen side, if I'm Arnold Allen, you have to make a decision. Are you going to try and pace yourself for 5 rounds for a decision fight, or are you going to say fuck it and try to win this fight in 2 rounds? If I'm Arnold Allen, I say fuck it. I'm trying to win this fight inside of 2 rounds. I'm getting in Max's face. I'm going to test the chin of Max Holloway, who has been hit and hit and hit over and over and over. He's never been knocked down. He's never been dropped. Whatever it is, I need to test that if I'm Arnold Allen, because I can't go 5 rounds. I can't go 5 rounds. And if I try and pace myself, I'm going to lose anyway. So I'm going to take some chances. I'm going to get in his face early. I'm going to sit down on some shots. And I'm going to trust my power and trust that I can hurt this guy. Because once Arnold Allen hurts somebody, he is all over him. He's a very smart fighter. He doesn't really take chances until he knows you're hurt. The unfortunate situation is Max really never gets hurt. So if Arnold is never really taking chances, I don't think he can really win this fight. He has the power advantage. He needs to use his power. He's got to jump on Max early, treat this as a 2-round fight, and I got to put this guy out of here and just kind of hope that that's what happens. And if it doesn't, take your chances on something later. The biggest question mark for this fight is going to be the grappling. I mean, it's going to be the grappling. Max has been using takedowns. Arnold is a good wrestler, a good grappler. I don't know if he can take Max down. If he can, this is going to be a completely different fight if there's going to be some grappling involved. I just assume it's going to be a mostly striking affair. That's how I broke down the fight. But once they start grappling, anything can happen in this fight. So I'm going to go with Max Holloway. I just think his experience, his chin, the 5 rounds is just going to be way too much. I'm personally biased for Arnold Allen. I'm going to be rooting for Arnold Allen. I think Max takes this fight. People are going to be talking about Max's last fight and how he got dominated. I really think that there was some mental fatigue fighting the same guy over and over and over. The second that Max, wasn't winning those exchanges in the first, second round, I'm sure he was like, oh, God, here we go again. This is a fresh face, a new opponent, a young up-and-comer. I think Max is going to be hungrier than ever to make a statement. Hey, I'm still who I am. I think Max gets it done. Confidence level is probably only about a 4 or 5. I have all the respect in the world for Arnold Allen. I'll be rooting for Arnold Allen. Nothing against Max Holloway, but all my favorite fighters have been losing, so I got to pick against Arnold Allen, unfortunately. But this has been the quick pick video breakdown for UFC Kansas City. I am Jacob, a.k.a. the Freckled Sailor. Make sure you put in the comments below a nice message for Elizabeth. If you don't know what I'm talking about, rewind, watch the intro, like the video, subscribe if you're new, become a premium member. WeWantPicks.com, only $10 a month. And I'm out.